Hey everyone. Today's been a pretty frustrating day. I've been trying to get one of my AI agents working for me 24/7. Just having a bit of trouble getting my AI agent running 24/7 for me. And yeah, I pretty much making this video right now because I would just like some help. So anybody would want to comment or just give me advice on how to get this AI agent running in production. I have my ideas, and that's what I'm working towards. But if you know of any other ways to do it, or you see something I'm doing wrong, just let me know. Yeah, I'll explain how I'm gonna get this AI agent working for me 24/7. So pretty much right now, I have this AI agent called ClassPilot, and this ClassPilot is an AI that generates lesson plans. So it's pretty much just an AI that could generate any lesson plan between K to 6, with any subject, math, science, whatever. Like if you're a teacher who wants to teach your class, this will generate you a lesson and you just go ahead and go teach your class that lesson. But the only thing about this class pilot is I only have it running locally, right? I have I have VS Code where I pull in the AI model and I would just run the AI model to generate me a ton of lesson plans. But I pretty much am only doing local deployment here. This AI agent is only working on me locally. So imagine you have an employee and you have to go in to work and watch over them and pretty much tell them exactly what to do in order for them to do anything. I want this AI to run more autonomously and I want it to run on the clock because it's an AI. That's kind of like the benefit of a computer. It should be able to run 24/7. And that just can't happen with my local deployment. So I want to ditch this local deployment and get this agent working for me pretty much 24/7. I want this thing running 24/7 pretty much the rest of my life, generating lesson plans for teachers and just being helpful to the community as an AI. Maybe people's sentiment on AI might change when we have these AI agents that are being more helpful. I'm just trolling, but let's see. So pretty much the three things I'm basically contemplating are okay, we have this local deployment. I don't want to spin up my laptop every time just to get this AI to work for me. So another option is pretty much buy my own server. Buy my own server. I was literally looking at Amazon, some for 500. I can buy my own server. It's basically a computer. Just install all of my dependencies, like all of the different AI libraries, and then just get this AI running on my server. And now my server, just keep it running 24/7. Maybe make the AI sleep for a little bit and then wake up periodically. That's basically what a cron job is. Run a cron job that will essentially every 8 hours wake the AI up and the AI will generate me a lesson plan. That's one way. So I could buy my own server. I can split it with my brother John Pearl, the CFA. I know he's trying to deploy a lot of different models, especially around equity research, and he's mass producing equity research equity research reports on his channel. So maybe we could build a server and we could have his AI agent running on there 24/7, sending him equity research reports. That's one way, but I don't really know where to put my server. I live in San Francisco, and San Francisco is very small spaces. I don't really have space. I live in a apartment that's under 300 square feet, so don't have a place to put a server. Also, it can get hot, especially in my room, so I don't want that thing overheating. So another option is okay, let's not just grab our own server, right? I don't want to maintain anything around the server. I don't want to have my own machine. I don't want to if it overheats, cool it down. If a part breaks, swap it, right? So that's kind of out of the question too. So now I'm pretty much debating two areas, right? I mean, I know I'm gonna work. I know I'm gonna rent a server out from the cloud. I could either rent one out from Google Cloud or Google AWS, and just pretty much just like ask for one of these servers, and then put my AI on one of those servers. All right, that's one way. So like for Amazon, that's probably like running an EC2 instance, right? EC2 is more, it's like virtualized on top of all these, so it's not like you're renting out a full server, you're renting out like a very small portion of a server. But that's one way. So definitely going to go with cloud. I don't know which provider I have yet. So I'm either debating using EC2 instances or Lambda functions, right? Lambda, Lambda, this is more like, EC2 is more like server. EC2 is like more like a traditional rent your server. While Lambda is more like a serverless computing. I'll explain that in a second. So with EC2, we're pretty much like, we could like spin up an EC2 and it's always on. So it's pretty much like renting a server from AWS. And then I can go in on that EC2 instance. I can SSH into that. I could SSH into that server whenever, and then I could install all of my dependencies. Then I could run the cron job and have that cron job running like every 8 hours to wake up the AI and make the AI agent do some work, and then put it back to sleep. That's one way. Or we could do like a more serverless technique. So one way to that we could also do this is, let me move this up. Is just create a Lambda function. So that's pretty much some code. So like I'll do like call model, right? Let's increase this. So with a Lambda function, all you have to do is like write a function, and then the function could be like get AI, or do it like this, get AI. So it grabs the AI, make the AI do work, and then like AI dot sleep, like something like that. Like with a serverless function, all I have to do is create this function, this Lambda function, and instead of actually renting out a server, whenever like I can create a what's it called, a trigger that will trigger this maybe like every 8 hours, similar to a cron job. I forget the exact what exactly we use on AWS to trigger the Lambda function. Let me look it up. You can kind of set it. I've done it this in a different project. One sec. You can kind of set schedules. So this is like one web scraper that I have, and I would make that web scraper run on a cron job, and this is the cron expression. So yeah, so that's a bit of an alternative to. So instead of like renting out a server through, sorry, let me just move this all the way to the side. So this is the Lambda right here. So how Lambda works is you can define a function that like will run the AI, and then you can run a trigger, and then every 8 hours, what it's gonna do is it's gonna look for a server to run your function on, and then when it finds a server, it's gonna run your function, and then you're done. So you're not really renting out the server, you're like sharing all these services between other people's Lambda function. So it's a bit of a different paradigm. Instead of like renting a server and then running your functions on that server, you just write the function and then AWS will find you a server to run on whenever you want to run it. So yeah, those are the two approaches I'm thinking. Um, the one thing that's just annoying me right now is like, okay, pretend we have this Lambda, right? That's gonna run every 8 hours. Do this. Every 8 hours, it's gonna look for this is like every 8 hours it's gonna trigger, right? This one. Every 8 hours, it's gonna look for an open server, and then it's gonna like pull in the code, and then run that on the server. All right, this is 3. The other thing it needs to do is also pull in the dependencies, right? So if you have like different dependencies, like in my case, I have like import OpenAI, import Google AI. So these are the different dependencies. Since you don't really own the server, you can't like pre-configure the server with these dependencies. What happens is when the Lambda is about to run your function, it pulls in your function, but then you actually have to also pull in the dependencies. And there's multiple ways to pull in dependencies, and that's kind of what I'm stuck on right now. So yeah, let's see. So basically, I'm contemplating the two options. I'm contemplating I'll literally just rent out a server from one of these cloud providers. Then I'm gonna install all my dependencies on that cloud provider, and then just once I have all the dependencies, I can literally just throw a ton of my AI agents as much as I want, my whole AI workforce onto like that server. The only thing that the problem is I have to pay for renting a server, and I usually have to pay like pretty much the whole time I have the server. But with Lambda functions, you only have to pay while your function is running. So for the 8 hours my AI agent is sleeping, I don't have to pay, but I do have to do that for EC2, right? But the moment my thing starts running, my AI agent starts running, and it does this of like pulling in the function and then pulling in the dependencies, then also running the function. That's when I actually have to pay. So I think it'll save me a lot on cost because most of the time my agents are going to be sleeping because I don't want my agents to be just running 24/7 because that'll just run up my bill as well. So I think having EC2 might be, or having the Lambda serverless might be more efficient when it comes to cost than just renting out an EC2. But pretend in the future I have a lot of AI agents. I have an army of AI agents working for me, and they're pretty much running 24/7. Maybe then I'll rent out a server and I'll just throw them all on that server and just have them all running on that server. Yeah, instead of like it's kind of like Lambda is kind of like find like when you're working you have to find a meeting, like you have a meeting, then you have to go find a meeting room, then you have to do your meeting. That's kind of what Lambda is. Versus an EC2 is like you just rent out that meeting room, and whenever you want to use that meeting room, you can use it. But obviously, since you just rent out that meeting room for 24 hours a week, you have to pay for 24 hours a week. Versus Lambda, since you only have to pay when you go and use that meeting room, like it ends up being probably a little bit cheaper depending on your workload. Pretend you're always in meetings, then it kind of makes sense to just use like a EC2 instance if we're going with that analogy and just sit in your meeting room the whole day. But if you only have a few meetings every little bit of the day, then it makes sense to just like do it on demand and just find a meeting room whenever you need to like take a meeting. Yeah, that's kind of the two ones I'm looking at. So I don't want to go with my local development. I don't really want to go on like my own server unless my brother John Peralta, the CFA, wants to go on a server, like split a server with me. I'll probably go on the cloud, but I'm either thinking between like a regular server based EC2 or serverless, either serverless Lambda function. There's equivalents to serverless on both Google Cloud and AWS, so EC2 is very specific to AWS, but there's like cloud functions for Google Cloud. Those are the two options. There's probably other options, there's probably third party providers that wrap the infrastructure and make it easier to deploy your AI agents. If you know any, just let me know. I'm curious about those two. And yeah, hopefully I can get some advice. Please comment down below on like any advice for hosting this AI agents. I want to have my AI army starting up closer to the end of the year. So I just need this first guy up and running first, and we'll be good. All right, see y'all in the next video.